to sitting here at midnight.
The film which you are about to see is an account of the tragedy which befell a group of 5 youths, in particular Sally Hardesty and her invalid brother Franklin. It is all the more tragic in that they were young, but had they lived very, very long lives, they could not have expected, nor would they have wished to see as much of the mad and macabre as they were to see that day. For them, an idyllic summer afternoon drive became a nightmare. The events of that day were to lead to the discovery of one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
Welcome back to Midnight Playback, where I take a deep look into horror movies. Today we are looking back at one of the most popular horror movies ever made, the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Nearly 50 years later, it's still one of the greatest horror movies ever made. But how did we get here? The movie doesn't feel like a normal slasher. When Texas Chain Saw Massacre first hit theaters, it didn't just scare audience, it terrified governments. It was actually banned in some countries. What makes this movie so brutal is how little blood is actually shown. You would think it would be a gore fest with it being titled Texas Chain Saw Massacre, but it's mostly just in your head. The sound design, the chainsaw, the screaming, it does all the work for you. There also was a bunch of movies that were made after this, and the franchise kind of became a mess. In 1986, Tobe Hooper returned with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Instead of copying the first one, he went insane with dark comedy. Some loved it, others hated how different it felt. I personally liked the second one. Then came Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 in 1990. It tried to get back to the gritty horror, the result, a messy sequel. In 1994, we were given Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. This movie is so known for just how bizarre it is. There's not really much to say about it. In 2003, they brought back the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the remake. I actually enjoyed this remake a lot. It was more gore and it felt raw, kind of like the original one. Then in 2006, they made a prequel called The Beginning. That one was just more gore, but it didn't really add much to any of the storylines. 2013, Texas Chainsaw 3D tried to be a direct sequel to the original, ignoring all the other films that were made in the past. It picked up decades later, and it ended up being a major flop. 2017 brought Leatherface, another prequel, this time showing his childhood instead of a slasher. It was more of a violent crime thriller. It's a very strange fit for this franchise. And finally, Netflix released Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2022. A modern legacy sequel, it brought Leatherface back to face a new generation. It had some brutal kills, including the infamous bus massacre scene. But the story left fans divided. It's dirty, it's chaotic, and it's so low budget. The budget was only $140,000 for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it grossed out to be over $30 million.
I've got to ask it. Are you ready?
It begins with Sally, her brother Franklin, and their friends Jerry, Pam, and Kirk. Driving through the back roads of Texas, they're heading to check on Sally and Franklin's grandfather's grave, after reports came out of a grave robbing in the area. On the way, they pick up a hitchhiker. From the second he steps inside, you know something's wrong. He snatches Franklin's knife and cuts his own hand, laughing as cheerful music plays. Then, without warning, he slashes Franklin's arm. Everyone's panicking, and then they kick him out of the van. But before leaving, he smears blood on the side of it like a mark, kind of like a warning. Low on gas, they stop at a rundown station, but the attendant tells them that the pumps are dry. He warns them not to go poking around old houses, but the group doesn't listen. They wander towards a nearby farmhouse, thinking they're going to find gas or someone to help. That's when everything changes. Kirk is the first inside. The house is strange, with animal bones and strange noises echoing. And then out of nowhere, Leatherface appears. No music, no build-up, just a massive figure slamming a sledgehammer into Kirk's skull. He drops instantly, twitching on the floor before being dragged behind a steel door. It's horrifying because it feels so sudden. Pam goes looking for Kirk and ends up in this nightmare room. Furniture is made of human bones, there's feathers covering the floor, and something very wrong is in the air. She tries to escape, but Leatherface catches her. He carries her struggling body and hangs her on a meat hook. She's alive, screaming, forced to watch as Leatherface butchers Kirk right in front of her. Jerry, the next to Serge, walks right into the same fate. He opens the freezer to find Pam stuffed inside, barely alive, before Leatherface takes him out instantly with the hammer. Night falls, and now only Sally and Franklin remain. But Franklin is stuck in a wheelchair, and Leatherface takes advantage of it. Coming out of nowhere from the dark with his chainsaw, he drives it right into Franklin's chest. He screams, and it's echoing across the woods. It's fast, brutal, and there's nothing Sally can do but run. Now this film turns into pure straight chaos. Sally's chased through the woods, her screams mixing with the roar of the saw. She crashes into the farmhouse, only to find the rooms filled with horror. Bones, skulls, human remains everywhere. It's not just a house, it's a slaughterhouse, dressed up as a home. She escapes to the gas station, thinking she's safe, but the old man who warned them earlier reveals himself as part of the family. He captures Sally, laughing as he ties her up and drives her back to the house. And then comes the most disturbing scene of all, the dinner scene. Sally is tied to a chair, her wrists are tied by human bones. Around the table sits the hitchhiker, Leatherface, the cook, and their ancient, rotten grandpa who can barely move. They laugh at her, taunt her, mock her screams. No gore, no kills, just psychological torture. Then, in a twisted ritual, they hand Grandpa the hammer and force him to try and kill her. He's too weak, dropping it again and again, but the family cheers him on, laughing like it's some kind of game. It's madness, pure, unfiltered insanity. But Sally refuses to die. In a final burst of desperation, she breaks free and dives through a window, running into the rising sun. The hitchhiker chases her down the road, but is suddenly struck and killed by a passing truck. Leatherface follows, the chainsaws roaring, but Sally scrambles into the back of another truck and escapes. The film ends with one of the most iconic images. Sally is covered in blood, screaming and laughing hysterically as the truck carries her away. Leatherface is furious. He swings his chainsaw in the air like a wild animal, howling against the dawn. There's no relief, no closure. Sally is alive but broken, and Leatherface is still out there and the nightmare does not end. Almost 50 years later, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre still feels dangerous. It's messy, it's relentless, and it never once tries to make you comfortable. And even though there are 9 movies in this franchise, people still come back to the original because this is the one that makes you feel like you're in a nightmare. That's why I call it peak horror, not because it's fun, but because it does not let you breathe. Thank you for watching this breakdown here on Midnight Playback. If you want more horror deep dives, comment below on what movies I should do next, and I'll see you in the next one.